This is a data science tutorial to walk through a mistake that I've seen so many times on data science interviews, specifically take-home challenges. When faced with experiment design problems, candidates often want to do a t-test to compare the difference between the mean of the treatment group and of the control group. But sometimes they overthink this. See, one of the assumptions of the t-test is the normality of the underlying data. And the candidates will make a mistake by looking at the distributions of the user level variables. So let me give a specific example, and then I'm going to walk through some code to see why they're wrong. Suppose we have a whole bunch of users in the treatment group and a whole bunch of users in the control group, and we want to compare mean revenue in the control to mean revenue in the treatment group. The mistake that I'll see candidates make is that they'll look at user level revenue and say, wow, this is not normally distributed. Therefore, we cannot use the t-test. And instead, they'll use some other test, usually involving medians. But the assumption isn't that user level revenue has to be normally distributed. It's that the mean of user level revenue comes from the normal distribution. I'm going to show you that even when user level metrics such as revenue are non-normally distributed, the mean is going to come from a normal distribution. So now if we look at the code, you can see that I generated data that is clearly not a normal distribution. Specifically, it's client revenue that is coming from the gamma distribution. But if you notice, the population mean is 49.4. Keep that in mind for later. And in this generated data, there are 10,000 users. Okay, now suppose that I take a sample, a random sample of 100 out of those 10,000 users. And of those 100, I take the mean. So that comes to one sample mean. But now let's suppose I repeat this process 10,000 times so I get a whole distribution of random sample means. You can see that this is clearly tending toward a normal distribution. And moreover, you can see that the mean of this population distribution is also 49.4. So the mean of the distribution of sample means is the same as the mean of the population. In this case, it's 49.4. And because the mean of the mean revenue would be distributed normally, we can now use the t-test. And specifically, this comes from two theorems. One is the central limit theorem, and the other is the law of large numbers. And it basically says no matter what the distribution of the underlying metric, the mean, if there is sufficient sample size, the mean will tend toward the normal distribution.